Ambassador Andrei Kelin, thank you and welcome back to our program.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I guess you've been involved in this because both the governments of Britain, France, and of the United States have sent a démarche to the Kremlin, telling them to quit these allegations about Ukraine using a dirty bomb or planning a dirty bomb. What is your reaction to that? Because there's no evidence about it. You know, last March, Russia accused Ukraine of planning a weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological. That never came to anything.
What really has happened is that Minister of Defense, Shoigu, has made telephone calls not only to three ministers you mentioned, but also to Minister of Defense of India, Turkey, and China. We have information. This is very serious information that something is under preparation, might be a dirty bomb. So we are just passing this information, and we have offered also professional conversation on that side. Some ministers has reacted positively. Some, like UK, has said, just from the outset, this is lie. This is not a good approach, I will say.
They have intelligence that they're referring to, but also, as you know, Ukraine has asked the IAEA, the internationally and Russia-supported UN arm, to look at any of these issues. The IAEA chief said this Monday that the IAEA inspected one of these locations that you're talking about a month ago, and all our findings were consistent with Ukraine's safeguard declarations. No undeclared nuclear activities or material were found there, and they're going back to check again in the next.
Now to these two locations. One is in Kiev. This is an institution which is doing. The other is in yellow waters, as they say. So the checking will be the best outcome of it.
So will you take their word for it if they check? They say, the IAEA says this is not true. Will Russia stop making these allegations?
Well, IAEA is supposed to check, and it is going to provide an answer some months after that.
Yeah,
it's a bit too long.
I don't think some months.
3, exactly, if I'm not mistaken. Also.
I think they want to bring out those. The question, Ambassador, really, I mean, you're a rational man. Mm-hmm. Why would a country want to create a dirty bomb, radioactive disaster in their own country? Why would a country, do what you accused it of doing back in March? A chemical or a biological weapon. Why would it do that?
I understand your question. We have a feeling that at this moment, authorities in Kiev need to attract attention by something, because actually the offensive attack on different fronts, counterattack, as they are calling it, it has stopped. They are now losing all resources. The front line has stabilized in all three places. I mean, in Kherson, in the east, and in Zaporozhye. There is no movement, and this country has no more resources. At the moment, it needs something like probably the dam in Kakhovka, which is it's a difficult place, because if it will be damaged, then we shall have a flood over there, or perhaps something else. So our people, they are serious people. If intelligence is saying that something is in preparation, then they are right about this. So the issue is to verify. If it is not over there, so we will simply be happy.
You know that the West and Ukraine believe that this is a Russian false flag, and the West is very concerned that you are making these allegations as a cover for some kind of escalation on your side. And you say that the Ukrainian battlefield is now stabilized, in your words, and not moving. But the Russians also face a lot of pushback, and the West says the Russian military operation is not going as well. Is Russia trying to escalate this war?
First of all, in his conversation, the Minister of Defense Shoigu, he assured every minister once again that we are not going to use nuclear weapon. And there was no single statement neither by the president or responsible guys. I do not take journalists, of course, and all these talks on the television. So Russia is not going to use nukes. So it is out of the question.
This is really important, what you've just told me, that Russia will not use nuclear weapons.
Absolutely.
Now, tomorrow, in a month, in a year, no matter what happens.
I cannot say about next
in a conventional
generation.
Scenario,
Yeah.
are you saying that your country has pledged,
yes.
your defense minister,
Yes.
not to use nuclear weapons?
Yes, this is what I'm saying, and this is what has been said by defense minister, by our president, and all of that. So,
And your president has said that too?
he never mentioned a possibility of using
But he
it.
has. You know,
There are
he's
speculations
raised veiled
and-
threats, and it's worried
No.
everybody.
No, there are speculations and allegations and issues that are trying to be, which he has never pronounced, in fact.
As you know, President Putin has made veiled threats. Now, the West has seen no movement in Russia's nuclear posture, but again, you're saying it is off the table.
Yes, I am saying that.
Okay.
Okay, is it okay?
Oh yeah, it's okay. I mean, I just want to be really clear
Yeah.
about this because it is the most important thing that we need to know
Yeah.
at this moment. As you know, many world leaders have called it absolutely irresponsible for Russia even to have ever mentioned it. So it's really, really important to hear what you're saying. Let me ask you about drones. We have seen, certainly in the last couple of weeks, a concerted new Russian tactic. Maybe you consider it a strategy to get Ukrainians to surrender, but a tactic using cruise missiles, airstrikes, and kamikaze drone strikes, specifically against infrastructure. Now, that could be called civilian infrastructure, which actually it is, but it's also very clearly energy infrastructure. Why is Russia doing that? Why attack civilian energy infrastructure? What's the point?
Well, come on. Drones are being used in this area for many years, starting 2014, but never mind. The issue is Crimean Bridge, I guess. Crimean Bridge is very essential for our infrastructure. It is the major thing over there, and Ukrainians are aware that this is a red line, that they should not attack it. But they have done it, they have severely damaged it, and of course, it is not a surprise for them that there is a certain response to that. In what way it is being done, that depends on the general staff. What means is he using? But the target is, and actually many specialists are confirming it, it is just certain interruption, not civil infrastructure, but certain interruption in the energetical flow from one region to the others, with which we can stop, first of all, the army. We are not targeting civilian population. We are not trying to damage civilian population, because we still believe that population of Ukraine should, first of all, of course, disbarrass this terrible government. And second, we need a good relations with them.
Yes, I mean, you know, Ambassador, I've actually been there and I have seen the civilian targets and I've seen the damage to people's homes, to individuals, the mass graves. So you can say that, but it's not commensurate with the actual facts.
You should go to Donbass and you will see damage
that
has been done.
We have our reporters there since 2014. Let me move on to something, because I know you're not a military official, but even your president yesterday addressed his special counsel, and he said that the basic war effort has to be ramped up. The economic side of it, the production side of it, the more weapons, more ammunition, even clothing for soldiers in the winter. How do you interpret that? I mean, I interpret it as things aren't going very well, that you're sending huge numbers, particularly of these new recruits, into a country to go to war with almost no training and with very little equipment and clothing. How do you interpret what the president said?
I will tell you that it's a big mistake to think that Ukraine can win this battle. It is strategic miscalculation, total, absolutely. Because the potential that Russia has and Ukraine has, it is non-comparable. At the moment, Ukraine is nearly a failed state, but it is living on the Western donations, on Western money, and on Western weapon. And while providing Western weapon, the West, so-called the West, UK, US, and whatever it is pushing Ukraine, which is now half of the previous Ukraine, by by a number of people, by all of that, to continue this battle. What's going to happen? What kind of state it will be after this winter or during this winter? This is our big concern. My understanding that it should be finished, of course. It should be finished. But otherwise, it will be a catastrophe on the place which is now called Ukraine.
You were once asked what you think the Russian Federation's greatest diplomatic challenge is, and you said to have normal relations with all countries in the world. This will provide stability, the necessary conditions for the economic development that we all desire. Clearly, this war that Russia started has set that back. Do you see any prospect of Russia wanting to go the diplomatic way and, seeking some kind of way out of this? Because you didn't answer me about the mobilization and the lack of equipment and the changing dynamic on the battlefield.
What I have said many years ago, it is in our constitution, by the way, in the concept of foreign policy, because the main task of diplomacy is to create favorable conditions of economic and social development and security. So it remains as such. As for the negotiations, in April, we were close to a solution, negotiated solution with Ukraine.
Okay,
but
that's
then,
the past. What about now?
In April. But then, as we understand, a major provocation of a kind we are talking right now has been done in Bucha, and top negotiations will stop. At the moment, President Zelensky, legally has made negotiations impossible because it is his own decision that no talks at all. We are saying that negotiations are possible and we will be prepared at any time to find a right solution for the crisis.
You call Bucha a provocation. We all saw what happened in Bucha. We heard your own soldiers on intercepted tapes say what happened in Bucha. It was a massacre, and it was done by the Russian side. So I want to ask you this. You've probably read, you're a veteran diplomat, and you've had incredible positions on, Russia-NATO discussions, arms control, Europe, all these things, OSCE you've been part of. You've probably heard of Boris Bondarev, who is a former Russian diplomat, who has now come out and he's been speaking, and he wrote a big article on diplomacy and his career as a diplomat. He basically says that diplomats were made to lie for the Kremlin. Quote, for years, Russian diplomats were made to confront Washington and defend the country's meddling abroad with lies and non sequiturs. We were taught to embrace bombastic rhetoric and to uncritically parrot to other states what the Kremlin said to us. But eventually, the target audience for this propaganda was not just foreign countries, it was our own leadership. In cables and statements, we were made to tell the Kremlin that we had sold the world on Russian greatness and demolished the West's arguments. We had to withhold any criticism about the president's dangerous plans, and he's talking about President Putin. What is your response to that? And do you ever feel like you're being kept in the dark, as he says?
Well, first of all, about Bucha, because we have touched upon this subject, it has happened months and months ago, and we have still no results. Who was over there? What are the names? What happened and whatever?
Well, I can just tell you they're being collected.
It's an important question, and no one has just given other opinion that it has been staged. Second, about this
Say
guy,
that again?
It has been staged.
You know that it wasn't staged. Come on, Ambassador. You and me are talking here. You know that Bucha wasn't staged.
Give us the names so we will know
the
who
names
these
are
people
out there.
It has been staged by BBC, and we know through
No,
verification.
come on. You're not accusing journalists of staging Bucha. No.
Not, of course, the journalists, but the other so-called fact-checking done by the BBC, it is not convincing, of course.
Okay,
So
Ambassador, I can't argue,
but
but that's a complete and utter, I'm sorry, it's a lie.
Okay. Well,
So tell me now what you make of this.
You before. This guy I have never met him personally, but I can tell you that he is not one of us, one of the Russian diplomats. He decided to change sides, and it is his personal opinion. His personal deed, I will say, what he has done. I'm not sure. I'm absolutely sure that in a year time he will be. What is going to happen with him? Perhaps he will change sides again. So this type of people. I know that he was unhappy at the ministry because he has never been trusted serious job.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I got your response to that. Ambassador Andrei Kelin, thank you very much indeed.